Hey, I accidentally injured myself. What's up? It's the Culture Detective here investigating your favorite movies. And today I'm going to be doing a movie roundup where I talk about the movies, TV shows, and animes I watched in the first half of June. So starting off, I watched Kingdom Season 1, a Korean drama created by Kim Hype. I'm sorry if I mispronounced the Korean name. So yeah, fine. I will start watching Korean dramas. After Squid Game, I realized I should start watching Korean dramas because I feel like I'm missing out. So finally, I decided to watch Kingdom Season 1, and let me tell you, it looks beautiful. The cinematography, the production design, and the costumes are all very on point. I love the medieval aesthetics of Kingdom. I also think the characters are very likable, and the story overall is pretty exciting. However, near the end of Season 1, the story does get a little repetitive and underwhelming at the end, but overall it's decent. 7 out of 10. Then I watched Airplane! From the year 1980, directed by Jerry Zucker, David Zucker, and Jim Abrahams. This is a very famous classic American comedy movie, and it is packed with jokes. There's like a joke every 2 seconds or so. And because there are so many jokes, some landed and some don't. All the take it literally jokes are kinda not for me. But there are also a lot of jokes near the beginning of the movie that I legitimately find funny. So overall, it's kinda half and half. While I really like the adults acting like kids and kids acting like adults jokes, some other jokes, like they're playing instruments and they're actually playing instruments, those jokes are not very funny, so yeah, 7 out of 10. Not really for me, I guess. Then, as a bit of a companion piece, I watched Airplane Mode from the year 2019. Yes, that Logan Paul movie, Airplane Mode. It is fucking atrocious. This is actually the worst movie I've ever seen. Before watching Airplane Mode, He's All That from the year 2020 is the worst movie I've seen, or I think that's from 2021. But this is even worse. This is actually even worse. This entire goddamn movie is basically constant sex jokes and shit piss cum jokes, and that's it. It's basically a bunch of quote-unquote influencers like Logan Paul and King Bach and King Batch and a bunch of other people just making these shitty ass jokes that aren't even funny. And who is this movie even made for? Children? Because children can't fucking watch this movie. It's all shit and piss jokes. Adults? I pity the adult soul that would remotely enjoy something like this. This is genuinely one of the worst things I've ever seen in any medium ever. I'm so glad I watched it in ×2 speed because otherwise I would probably die of cringe. And aside from one of the characters, every other characters in this movie, every other performance is repulsive. It's vomit-inducing, and it is just terrible, and I don't ever want to think about this movie ever again. 0 out of 10. Next up, I watched Top Gun from 1986, directed by Tony Scott. So before watching Top Gun Maverick, which I haven't watched by the way, I decided to watch the original first, and it's very boring. This is basically American propaganda. Ooh, American military, so cool. But packaged in a very mainstream way. It's very 80s. I like the soundtrack, and some of the scenes, especially towards the end, are not bad. But overall, the movie is just very repetitive. It's basically having fun with the boys, flirting with the girls, I love my wife, aviator glasses, volleyball, motorcycles, drinking beer, and that's it. It's so frickin' American. This has got to be one of the most American movies I've ever seen, and it's still kinda boring. 6 out of 10. Then I watched Videodrome from 1983, written and directed by David Cronenberg. So before I watched Crimes of the Future, I decided to watch this as a Cronenberg starter. And honestly, this is one of the most unique, bizarre, and creative horror films I've ever seen. There are tons of interesting imagery and great themes being explored. this film says a lot about the world of entertainment and the human need for violence and sex. It is a very interesting film, and for now it is a 9 out of 10, but maybe if I rewatch it, it'll become a 10 out of 10. Who knows? And I expect it to become a 10 out of 10. I mean, this movie just feels like something that's made for me. Next up, I finished watching そのビスクドールは恋をする, or in English, My Dress-Up Darling, an anime, a manga illustrated by Fukada Shinichi, and then it is adapted into an anime. And as far as rom-com slice of life goes, it's honestly not bad. And there are tons of fan service edo moments that is, it is exactly what you would expect, but also there are tons of genuinely endearing and wholesome moments. The story keeps it small, so there aren't a lot of characters, but every single character is explored pretty well in the story. So overall, even though it's not the best, I still enjoyed it for the most part. 7 out of 10. Then I watched Inglourious Basterds from the year 2009, written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. And as expected, this is now my favorite Tarantino film. Tarantino perfectly balances homage to the past with innovation and originality in this movie. Almost every single scene in this film is fantastic. They're all great and iconic. And Tarantino is a master at building tension. Some of the scenes here are incredibly intense. I mean, the opening scene, it is masterfully directed. 9 out of 10. Then I watched Crimes of the Future, written and directed by David Cronenberg. Yes, the new film. And I don't know. I mean, the movie has a fantastic idea. It has a very interesting and fascinating concept. And I also kind of like the last act of the film. I think overall the film just lacks something. Maybe it's a sense of scale, maybe it's a dynamic plot, maybe it's something, I don't know. But even though I feel like this movie is made for someone like me, and I feel like I am the kind of person who would really love this film, at the end I was just slightly underwhelmed. Slightly. 7 out of 10. Then I watched Riki-Oh, or Riki-Oh, the story of Riki from 1991. Now, because this is a Hong Kong movie, I will be making a long review a little bit later in June, talking about this movie in a longer length, but let me just say that this is a batshit insane, hyper-violent movie. It's incredibly fun, and what made me love the film even more are actually the anti-fascist and anti-authoritarian themes. I just didn't expect movies from the 1990s to also show these themes. So that's awesome, man. I feel it. I totally feel it. 8 out of 10. And then a couple nights ago, I watched Primer from 2004, directed by Shane Carruth. I guess one of the reasons why I wanted to watch this movie is because as a young filmmaker who is trying to make a living while not trying to be broke, I don't have a lot of money to work with, and I've always wondered, how do I make a good movie with a limited budget? And by limited, I mean very freaking limited. Tiny budget. Well, the answer is Primer by Shane Carruth. With only $7,000, he basically made arguably a masterpiece. Primer is basically a puzzle in cinematic format. It is the time travel film that ends all time travel films. It is really confusing, but what I love about it is that it invites the viewers to think. This movie is not for everyone, especially for people who don't like to think, but I kinda enjoy it. 10 out of 10. Very unique movie. So, these are the movies and animes and TV shows I watched in the first half of June. I originally planned to watch Top Gun Maverick a couple days ago, but I didn't do that because of unforeseen circumstances. But hopefully I'll be able to see it next week and finally do a review on it. So, what have you watched? Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching.